Hey, how's it going? This is Isaac Zuren. And for those who don't know me, I'm a 3D generalist at Industrial Light and Magic. I've been working on really cool shows lately, a lot of 3D and CG heavy shows, virtual production, which is all super exciting. But for this small presentation, I wanted to showcase a personal project that I happened to finish a couple days ago. So I thought it would be a great opportunity to really show my process on how I approach this kind of environments. Um, so yeah, without anything further to say, enjoy. So yeah, that's pretty much all there is to this side project. I worked on this for a little bit over 3 months. Um, and the thing that really captivated me was the fact that this city was so insane. In case you don't know, this is the Aztec Capital. It was basically a city floating in the middle of a lake, and at its peak, it had like a little bit over 200,000 people living in there. So that's really crazy to think about. Um, and also the fact that it hasn't received a lot of attention in film. You know, we have seen a couple of shows lately, but nothing is super accurate so far. So I wanted to really push that to the next level, and create the most realistic version of Tenochtitlan that has ever been created. I know as a fact that there's still a lot of things that are missing from the city. I had to cut a lot of content because I didn't have the time and resources to do that. But this is super, super close. And I want to believe that this is super close to how the city actually looked. So yeah, this is all the references. And this is just a little bit of the reference. I have more and more spreadsheets of these kind of images that I just gathered to try to get the look right. So yeah, it's pretty cool to see how artists interpret the city through time. So here is a very, very rough render of the terrain, uh, super far away. You can see the city, it's here, super tiny. But it's just to show how the scene looked in general. And how I did is, I got this terrain from Blender. I went to, there's an add-on called OpenStreetMap that lets you download terrain data, either in form of geometry or height maps. The downside is that it's very low polygon, so I had to export it and import it to Gaia, which is a terrain creation tool. And there I was able to really refine, polish, and make the terrain super realistic, which is, as you can see, it has really nice details, very organic, that you wouldn't get with just downloaded data. Um, so this was enough just to import it to 3ds Max and start adding procedural shaders. And just as a fact, like this here, it's nowadays Mexico City, so there's no lake. It's completely gone. And this is all covered in city. In fact, if I go to the render here, we can compare before and after. This is the city, how it looked, and nowadays this is roughly the same area, the same location. This is how it looks now. So it's completely gone. It's completely different. There's no lake. It's just that infinite horizon of concrete. So yeah, that's a cool fact there. And then here is another view from the city from above. So you can see how I structured the buildings, the commercial areas, the market here, and the central plaza. And everything else pretty much either farms, where people lived, houses. So yeah, another cool view from the city. In terms of shaders and materials, I went fully procedural just to save as much time as possible. So I did this render this is a very simplified version of the actual shader I use, but it's enough to demonstrate how it works. It basically just simulates slopes, cliffs, areas with sand and beaches, for example, which is not quite a beach because it's a lake bed. It kind of like simulates that erosion. It also will simulate like foam, as you can see, very close to the coastline, and seaweed floating around, which I think it's really cool. It really sells the idea that we're on a lake, especially with all this random seaweed appearing. So as you can see how the shader behaves, just reacts to the terrain going through the water. So I think it's pretty cool. It's not super detailed because we never see the terrain this close. It's super far away. So I didn't care too much about like texture resolutions and all because I knew it was going to be far. But yeah, this is a very, very simple example of how the terrain was created. So here is a scene running inside 3ds Max. As you can see, everything is very smooth, very light. Reason is because I'm running everything through proxies, and then I'm splitting the entire scene into sub scenes and then referencing those into one master file. And that will make everything just so much efficient and cleaner, and less of a headache when it comes to optimizing, renaming stuff. So yeah, that helped a lot. Another key part of creating the city was these logs. So every island has this structure of logs surrounding it that keeps the island on float and in position. So I needed to find a way to do this the most quicker and efficient way. And I went to Blender, and with the new geometry nodes, which are amazing by the way, you're able to create everything automatically and procedurally. And it's so easy. I know the node graph at the bottom looks very complex, but it really isn't. It's just what this small script is doing is grabbing the splines and then adding points to those splines and then replacing the points with geometry that in this case are the logs. And I also added some extra things like terrain, deformation, to add more randomness to it. So as you can see, I just go here, I just one click, activate geometry nodes, and boom, everything it's done really easily. You can see like it creates all the structure of logs around every single island, and also at the terrain inside with deformation. And it's so simple, just like clicking one of the splines and adding the geometry node script, and it will do it that easy. It's not that hard to learn, so I will really recommend to start jumping to Blender and start learning this kind of cool tools and techniques. It's super useful. And finally here I'm just demonstrating how I was able to draw the islands if I wanted. I ended up using this only for 4 or 5 islands, but it was fun anyways to have this handy. And same for the bridges. They were all procedural, same technique. These are the bridges that connects the city with the exterior. So yeah, I think I couldn't have found a better tool for this work. It was amazing. And for vegetation inside the city, I manually went to Cosmos and started importing some of the palms they have. And it was enough, honestly. They look very good. And from this far, I didn't need a lot of variation. just cloning a couple of them and rotating and scaling them. So that was very fun. That was straightforward. So you can see here how they look. Now for the crowds, they are all running in Tyflow for 3ds Max. As you can see, they are all evading obstacles. They go like they kind of like follow a path, but once they reach their final destination, they will slowly stop and idle, which is kind of rough if you see it this close, but just considering how far the camera is, there's no way you will notice any of this. Same thing for the boats. This was a lot simpler. They're just the fishing boats just wandering around, moving left to right. Nothing crazy here. And then here you see the result of the crowds. That really pays off all the tiny details there. Finally, the smoke, which is a very important element because from far away it's the only thing that's moving inside the city. So yeah, this is just simple cylinder, a mission, and just Phoenix FD just do all the work. I did like 4 or 5 of these, so it became a little heavy inside the scene, but it really helps to sell the mood that the city is alive and breathing. And finally, the question that I've been asked a lot is how long it took to render the whole sequence. And I originally wanted to render this on a render farm, but the fact that this is a very long shot with over 1,000 frames, it was just so expensive for a side project. So I had to render this on my 2 machines, and it took almost a month to render everything. One machine was rendering every day and night, and the machine that I used was just running at nights. But yeah, it took a while. And it's not only the beauty, the 1,000 frames of the beauty, then you have to render the volumetrics, extra passes. So it starts piling up as the scene becomes more complex. There's quite a lot of noise in the scene, especially on the vegetation and the trees. You'll see it if you look really close. But it is what it is. I mean, it's a personal project. It doesn't have to be perfect. And on the very top, it has to be fun and enjoyable. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. I probably will take a break from ambitious projects for the rest of the year. I'll go back to tiny experiments. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the presentation. I know it's not the entire process, but it's just a little bit of everything so you understand how I do these kinds of environments. So thanks a lot for hearing this, and I'll see you soon. Cheers.